welcome to the Kelly Roach Show, a place for no fluff, easy to implement, 20-minute or less business and leadership lessons to help you build a sustainable business that scales. Let's get started. All right, welcome back. This is the Kelly Roach Show, and you are in for a treat today. I have someone who I would like to call my friend, and also someone that I've been working with for multiple years inside my various communities. Tara Antler has been transforming lives for many moons, right? You're one of those people, Tara, that you have thrived and grown and evolved through this crazy internet world that we live in for many years. Why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about what you and Gabe do together, which first of all, her and her amazing husband run their business together, which is so freaking awesome. But why don't you tell a little bit about, what you guys do and the work that you do in the world, and a little bit about the journey. And then what we're going to get into today is a little bit about that subconscious programming and how it impacts your business and your results. So Tara, I'm turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here too. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. So I'll tell you guys a little bit so Gabriel and I, we met when we were both living in California in LA, and Gabriel he was a practitioner and part of the choir at Agape International Spiritual Center with Michael Beckwith. And so our paths crossed, and it was like fireworks and magic going off. And at this point, I had already had my business going since 2002, and our paths intersected at around 2010, I believe. And so it was no joke when I say fireworks, and spirit put us together so fast and furious that we were engaged within 3 months, married 6 months, traveled the world, lived in Trinidad, Mexico, Ireland, Canada, back to Canada. And everything was saying, put your businesses together. He was already a spiritual practitioner. I have been doing intuitive healing and soul coaching and spiritual mentoring for a number of years already, built many successful businesses in Toronto. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to join forces with them because I was like, I built these babies. Yeah. I built these businesses myself. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Put our two businesses together and just freely hand it all over. So it took us a number of years to actually get to that point where we did. And it happened right before we got pregnant with Aria, our daughter. And so Aria is now 6. And then we had twin boys. And I was so grateful that the year before Aria was born, it made things a lot easier, able to tag team. We were able to keep things running and moving and going. I was able to still see clients. He was able to see them. He would come to Toronto with me when I was still seeing clients in person and doing energy healing. And I would nurse the baby, and then he'd take the baby and I'd do energy healing, and then, back and forth. And so he was so there and supportive, and it was incredible. I felt like I didn't miss a beat. Everything just continued on. And then we intersected with you, Kelly, right at the onset of the boys coming into our life.
Yes.
And Gabriel and I were like, we're not going to be able to do this in-person thing. Like, we can't be driving down to Toronto every day back and forth with 3 little ones under 3. And so I'm so grateful that we met you, and we brought our business online, and we started live launching. It changed the trajectory of our business on a whole other level. Like, for the first time, the income we were bringing in was like 10 times the amount we could have ever imagined. And it was easier than what we were doing before, driving down back and forth an hour to Toronto and an hour back, and being in the city all day. And so now our business is so beautiful. We see clients all over the world. We are helping clients with manifestation mastery, intuition, and meditation. We work on relationships and healing. And then we tie it up with a nice little bow in spiritual mastery and spiritual growth and development, because it's threaded through everything that we do. And it's the thing that people want. It's just, they don't know that until they're already in, and they're doing their healing, and they're doing manifestation, and they're expanding their intuition. And so it's incredible. Like, there's so much more I could say about that, but I'll just tie it there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And so before we get into this idea of the subconscious and how it, obviously is guiding and directing everything for us, I want to just dig in for a moment to longevity in business because, I think this is something that's coming up a lot, right? A lot of businesses closed in 2022, and there's a lot of business owners that are still kind of getting their footing in 2023 with, all of the changes. And I've become personally fascinated with really prioritizing longevity for myself, health, mentally, physically, spiritually, in my business, every decision that I'm making. And so I would love for the people listening today to just hear a couple tips from you, just around like the longevity of your business, the reinvention along the way, and just kind of how you've stayed really deeply ingrained and connected and fueled through that process.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it was really about listening spiritually and intuitively, because there's always changes that are happening. And I know we know a lot. I know a lot. I'm very well educated and schooled and know a lot about a lot. And yet, when I tap into my intuition and my higher self, creator, the infinite, the divine, whatever people want to call it, that guidance is so pure and it's so clear that I never second guess it. Yeah. When spirit had me, book a plane, book a flight, go down to LA. Why? I don't know. You're going to LA. And then I'd meet all these amazing clients, right? And amazing things would happen. It's been that way every step along the journey. So I would say definitely have some sort of spiritual foundation where you can dial in, plug in, tune in to higher guidance and insight, because your higher self wants the absolute best for you. And it's never going to steer you in a, wrong direction. It's always going to encourage you to live a higher life, a more expansive experience. And then it's really about trusting that guidance that you get and take the step when you get the guidance. Mm-hmm. The other thing for me has always been about connection, deeply, deeply connecting to clients. I think when we care about what we do more, right? When we really, truly care about how am I making a difference? How am I making an impact? How am I here to serve? Who am I here to serve? How can I help? I think this is why for us as well, like everybody in the beginning told us to niche. I have worked with clients who are babies, pregnant women, and all the way up to the client that I had the most amount of cycles around the sun. I don't say old anymore. So the most amount of cycles around the sun, he was 98.
That's amazing.
And every client in between. And there's such beauty in being able to see as many different clients, because underneath it all, it was really everybody came to heal or to shift or to get clarity. And so I feel like when we're really clear on, you talk about true north, right? Mm-hmm. When we know our internal guidance, what we're here to do, and that might have different layers to it. It might have evolution to that as well. But being able to come back to that and ask self, like, what am I really here to do? How am I here to serve? And we lead with that. All the other pieces fill in. Right. Yeah. All the support and the strategies and what we need to do next, or how we need to grow, or what we need to grow, it does get filled in when we're here and we're solid. That's, I think, the longevity and being open to shifting. I came up with this new term called pivot and shift. I was doing a live launch actually, and I was saying it so fast that it literally came out as piffed. And I was like, piffed. I was like, what's that? And they're like, pivot and shift. And I was like, right, let's put these words together. Let's just do that. Right. I think being willing to continue to grow and evolve yourself, and it doesn't have to be locked in to just this. Right. You're never the same every day. So why would we expect business to be the same every single day? I'd love for it to be, but it's not, It
is the ability. It really is the mental, like intellectual plasticity to be able to like regulate your emotions and be able to flow and change and evolve and not allow the changes that are happening external to you to inhibit your ability to find that ability inside of you to thrive and then have the success come from the inside out, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we were kind of chatting before we got on today, and the idea of the subconscious came up, which I am fascinated. I love the subconscious mind, and I'm so interested in brain science. And so I'm always like gobbling up anything I can on that. And I love how you were talking about how you were doing exercise with your clients and this really began to come out for you. So talk to me a little bit about, what you uncovered and some of the things you're working on with your clients, and what are some things that everyone listening to the show can do to kind of check in with how their subconscious is running their life and how to get better results.
Yeah. So whenever we start a manifestation mastery program, we always start with what's hiding out in the basement, and the basement for me has always been the subconscious, because the subconscious is similar to the universal field, where the universal field hears, receives, sees everything 100% of the time. Your subconscious mind is doing the same thing. It doesn't filter. It just receives. The analogy is like having 20 TVs in a room and several radios, and all of them are on. You might be focused here on one, and you're like, no, I'm locked into this show. Your subconscious is recording everything, including the birds flying outside and the way the sun is sparkling on the snow, to what you hear when the kids are playing. Like, you're recording everything, and that gets stuff stored deep inside of us, in our body, in our cells, in our energetic field, and then in the mind, and I believe a bigger field. And so on the top end, we're like, this is what we want to create. Like, especially when we're talking about manifestation, everybody's like, yay, I want the best life ever. I want to create this, and I want to have this income, and I want to have this abundance, and I want to live this life, and I want the most healthy relationship, and I want to feel healthy in my body, and I want the most thriving business. That's the top end. So we're like, great, we hear what you want. Now let's start to uncover what's underneath, because we lead powerfully in what we want. And yet, if that was the only thing that was powering up our manifestations, everyone on this planet would have everything they ever set their intentions on ever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it happens really fast. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes things never come for some people. And if ever someone hits a roadblock, or they're wondering, I've been doing everything. I've been doing the vision boards. I've been doing the mind mapping. I've been putting the intention out there. I'm very clear on what my mind is. And yet they hit this wall. There's something in the subconscious that's holding. And the analogy I gave them last night was, in the room, you've got all this beautiful, you're like, I love this song. I love that music. And you're sending out this clear signal, but the subconscious is sending out like it's sending out this like frenetic static, right? And it's loud and it's powerful. And so even though we might be like, this is what I really want, it's also sending out a signal that could be remembering how mom and dad acted around money or business, or something that we saw, or something that happened, and it's all stored. And especially as children 1 through 14, most children don't know how to process or clear or heal. And so they just get stuff stored and locked in, and they emit this frequency and a signal. And that signal is just as loud, if sometimes not louder, than what we're consciously wanting to create. So it becomes this almost like competitive frequency. And because the universe is receiving 100% of the time and reflecting back to us, it's reflecting back all of us, all of it, the conscious and the subconscious. And so I said, start with the question, I believe money is, and we did money first. I believe money is, or money. And on the top end, you'll be like, I love money. Money's wonderful. Money's such a great opportunity for da, 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 da. But if you keep writing and you keep asking the question, you start to open the door to the subconscious. And all of a sudden you hear something that you're like, what? I don't really think that way. Yeah. You don't think that way, but your subconscious is holding something about that. Right. Mm-hmm. So we did that with health. We did that with relationships. We did that with money. And then business came, and it was the coolest thing. So because when you start doing subconscious work on yourself, and this is what's happened with me for so long, I've been meditating since I was 14. I'm now 44. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time that I've utilized meditation. And so it comes very quick. And so as I put the question forward to the class, I said, I believe business is, and I heard my own, like, as I said it to them as an exercise to start reflecting and being curious. Not from a push, but just curiosity. I heard on the top end, wonderful, beautiful. I love business. It's such a great opportunity to express yourself in the world. And all of a sudden from underneath, I actually felt it coming up from the ground up. Business is hard. It's really hard. And I'm like, no, it's not. On the conscious level, I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah. I've never experienced business to be hard. It's actually never been hard for me. And yet I heard that. Yeah. And so when I walked the class into this really powerful subconscious clearing meditation. It's kind of like a self-hypnosis where they're still conscious. They can hear me, but we went really deep and we open up the gates and we walk through and we say, okay, higher self, guide me to show me what needs to be cleared within the subconscious. Kelly, it took me, my higher self took me to this playground that represented business, which I loved, but the playground was it was falling apart. It was rusted. It was creaky. And I was shocked. I'm in my mind and I'm leading them, but I'm having the experience too. And I'm thankful that I'm having this experience. And I'm like, what happened here? And I'm looking around and I'm looking at all the teeter totter. And it was like, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And then it got creaky and it just fell apart. And then the swing was all rusted and falling apart. And the slide was falling apart. And I'm like, what do we do? And I said, okay, let's clean, right? Like, let's first clean up, let's clear the old. And that's part of the process, is cleaning the old, cleaning the basement. And they said, well, what would you like to do? And of course, my conscious mind is like, well, we could go fix it. We can refurbish it. We can make it better. Let's add some oil. Let's make it better. And then they said, do you really want to do it that way? And all of a sudden the workhorse showed up with the carriage. And I was like, there's the workhorse. And that's something I've seen in myself many, many times. And so I said, it's time to take the reins, set the horse free. No more workhorse, no more workhorse, no more driving self like that. And I said, now what? And I got on the horse and the horse was running free. And then all of a sudden the horse grows these wings like a Pegasus and we take off and we're spiraling in the sky and it felt so free. And I'm looking down at this falling apart playground. And I said, yeah, no, that's too much work to try to fix all that. Let's go up. And they took me up to this higher evolved, it looked like fantasy land. There were rainbows everywhere flowing through the sky. There was a waterfall coming out of the sky. There were flowers and butterflies everywhere, colors and sparkles like I have never seen, bouncy castles, fun things like new bubbles, so many beautiful things that still represented a playground. And they said, you can choose. You can go back and fix the old, or you elevate to a whole new template for what business, quotation marks, could be. And they said, by the way, we want you to evolve the busyness of the business term, because that word also was created to keep people really busy in the busyness. So come back to the origins of, you're here to create. You're here to express. And as you create and you express your soul, your gifts, what you're here to do, your purpose, your passion, it naturally goes out into the world. And it's so much more fun and it's so much more easy and it's bringing the play back in. And I was so acutely aware of all the times that I heard my parents, watching them grow a business from the ground up. We were 3 little ones. I was 6, my sister was 4, and my brother was 2. And they built a business from ground zero to $1 million business. And they had to work hard, 7 in the morning till 10 at night. So the amount of times I heard that, like, this is so hard, right? Like, this is the stuff that's hiding out in us and we don't even know until it uncovers, right? It's huge.
It's huge. And I love what you said about our subconscious absorbing everything, because I think that especially now I heard a quote the other day and I can't remember what it was, but it was like about the number of media messages that we're consuming on a daily basis and what we're consuming just with social media and, television. And you think that you're like blocking it because you're like, no, that's not important. Like, I'm just not going to pay attention during the commercial, or I'm just going to scroll really quick and I'm going to do what I need to do. But you don't realize that you may be consciously saying that doesn't matter. I'm not letting that impact me. I'm not going to absorb that. But your subconscious is like the record keeper of all, right? And so I think it's so important to really constantly be taking stock of like what all of those influences are. Sometimes it's hidden in the basement, like you said, from childhood. Sometimes it's stuff that you're actually doing all day, every day, that's creating a negative, subconscious programming. And you don't realize it because in your mind, you're like, no, I'm not I'm not absorbing that. I'm not consuming that. But yes, you are. You just don't realize it. So I think it's a really important dialogue. And the question that I have for you, Tara, is for the people that are listening to the show today, what would be kind of the line of questions that you would have them ask themselves to start trying to like unearth this? Because I do believe that if you can get to that point of identifying that thing, you can create that belief shift from the inside out that then allows you to start aligning what you think you're doing and what you think and what you think you're focused on, and actually having those things come together. So what would those questions look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would start with something so simple and give yourself space to relax, because when we're in conscious control, the subconscious isn't necessarily going to come up to play. It's not going to come up to the surface. So I would first create a space that's really soft and nourishing, no stimulation. And I'm so grateful that we have this studio office now where it's quiet and there's no sound, and I can play music if I want, or it can be really quiet. And if you do have music on, put music that's really meditative, no words, because even words in songs are having an influence on your mind. Even if they're beautiful words and you're like, it's all about love, but it's also being pumped in while you're wanting to lift something up and out. So let it be quiet for a moment. It might feel uncomfortable, but it's okay. Think about creating a cozy, safe space. And then just get out a couple pieces of paper. You don't have to keep the paper, but just allow yourself to put at the top, I believe, and whatever you're working on, if it's business, if it's money, if it's relationships, if it's health and well-being, I believe being healthy is, or I believe being wealthy is, or I believe business is, whatever is important to you. I believe, and just start writing. You're going to see the top end is going to come out first. And you'll be like, I believe health is amazing. I love being healthy. I love being wealthy. I love it. It's so wonderful. And it's going to be, and just keep writing. Just keep writing. And I would prefer like writing than typing. Just keep writing. And all of a sudden, as you keep letting go and you keep surrendering and you keep asking yourself that question, something's going to pop. Something's going to come. You're going to hear something that surprises you. You're going to hear something that I don't think like that, but it's somewhere in you. And you have to look at it from the most loving lens, not from judgment, not from poo-pooing on yourself and being like, gosh, like, why am I thinking that way? It's not you. It's just stuff that was recorded. So we have to be really gentle and loving with ourselves too, to not judge what comes. That's the control again.
I think that's huge, because like, I could totally see myself being like, I don't think that. I don't believe that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you let it come up and then you realize like these things are coming up and you're like, but I don't even resonate that's not what I think. But no, but it's there, right? It's there. And I think it's really important what you just said about like allowing yourself to just like, instead of judging it, just allowing it to come up and then unpacking it, right?
And then what you can do is sometimes people are really kinesthetic. So they'll feel something as they're uncovering this. They might feel tension in their body or their shoulders. Talk to your body too. Like, what is that? Get curious. Ooh, I'm feeling uneasy here. That's having me feel tight in my throat. What is that? Yeah. Like, what's going on here with the most beautiful love? What is that? Like, what's happening here in my throat? What do you want to say? And when you start to speak to yourself with love and kindness, the body starts to release and say, oh, thank God I don't have to hold this anymore. I can let this go. And the subconscious starts to rise and say, oh, okay, here's what we really want to tell you. Here's what you've been really holding on to. And then you feel it, you might see it, you might hear it, you might write it. And then what I would do with that is set the intention to clear it. So I believe in creator, the divine. Some people say God, the universe, the infinite, guides, higher self. All of it works. All of it works. It's just a label. It's just a name. And so what I would do then is connect to whatever it is that you believe in on that higher level, and allow in life force, allow in light, allow in that spiritual energy to be a part of you so that it can help you and take care of the energy because that's really what needs to happen. Yeah. Sometimes we think it's the mind that needs to do it, but in that way, it's the energy, because we not only want to clear it from the mind, we want to clear it energetically and emotionally and physically, because it's had an impact. And so I like to use the word clear. Yeah. The way I described it to my dad long ago. And I said, think of, when a heart goes and it needs the defibrillator, it's like, it starts wobbling instead of having a healthy beat. Yes. And they put the paddles on and they go clear, and it shocks it. And it does that to shock it back into its rhythm. Yeah. When stuff is coming up, it feels unsettling. So imagine there's this radiant light from Source, Creator, the Divine God, coming down. And when you say clear, it's actually moving the energy. It's clearing out from the subconscious. It's clearing it in your body, in your cells, in every part of you. It will actually clear it, not process, not get in there and look at it all, right? Yeah. Like clear.
I love it.
Right. It's so powerful.
It's so, so powerful. Mm-hmm. It's such a good exercise. And it's something that we have to keep coming back to, because we're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, going after it and understanding the things that are standing in our way. A lot of times we're looking out here and it's almost always in here, right? Yeah.
And you'll actually find that if you are working on mindset, or if there's a strategy that you're working with, or whatever the next thing is, it'll actually work even more beautifully and easily, because now there's no gunk in the way. Yeah. There's just a free passage. It's clear. Yeah. And then everything starts to work. You'll just find all of a sudden you're like, wow, things are just working, because there's no interference. There's no static anymore. You say you want this. Yes, you have that. There's no interference. There's not, I want this, in the universe saying, oh, all I heard was, right? Yeah. You're like, no, I asked for it, right? Yeah. And the clarity is there now, and it hears that, and it makes creation and manifestation so much easier.
So good. So good. Where can people learn more from you about manifestation, tapping into their subconscious, elevating? Where do they go next?
Yeah, the best place would be academyoflight.ca. We have so many resources on there. There are free courses and meditations that you can tap into. That would probably be the best place. And then you'll get plugged into everything from that one spot.
Love it. Beautiful. Yeah. Tara, I love the work that you're doing in the world. Keep changing people's lives, keeping such a light in the world with everything that you're doing. Love seeing you execute beautifully and keep growing your brand and your business, and just excited to see where things go next.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Such a joy to connect with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show today. And guys, go check out everything that Tara's doing. I'm going to put those links and the information about our website and socials in the show notes below. Thanks, everyone.